I think we'll just get ready to start, and I'm really delighted to invite Mitchell Levy today. This is going to be very interesting talk. I've had some really good conversations with him, and what we're going to do is I'm going to just do a very brief go round among the group and see what's happening, who's here. If you have something that you're looking for out of today, because obviously you read the blurb and you're here, let us know, let Mitchell know. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time, but we'll do a quick go around. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll have some very brief announcements to let you know what's going on. And again, welcome to all the new faces. So let me go to his bio. Hang on. So Mitchell, first of all, he's a fun guy, which is very important to me. Secondly, he's a global credibility expert, and he's a two-time TEDx speaker, an international best-selling author of over 60 books, and an executive coach with Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches, which is not Swiss cheese. Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches is a very high-end group. After interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility, he published a 7-country international best-selling book, did a powerful TEDx talk on humanity, has created courses, created Credibility Nation membership community to help those live, learn, and surround themselves with others on the credibility journey. He's also a very accomplished entrepreneur and has provided strategic consulting to hundreds of companies and has been the chairman of the board of a NASDAQ listed company. So he's also happily married for 31 years. And as you can tell, he's a very active, busy guy talking about how to relate to your clients mostly or other people with credibility, which is often, as we see, sadly lacking in our culture and in our environment. So with that, I'm just going to ask everyone to go around very briefly. Please say your name and what kind of coach you are, what you do, and is there anything in particular you're looking for today? I'm going to go around the people on my screen. So Celeste, if you wouldn't mind starting. And make sure you unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
There you
Hi,
go.
I'm Celeste Robluski, and I'm from Chicago. Now, I wish I were in Sarasota. I heard about this through Phyllis, and I'm starting a new practice as a career coach, which I've been active in informally for many years. But when I heard about the session, it sounded really great, and I just want to kind of absorb it all.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. And if you don't mind, I'm going to guide you people if you don't mind. So if you would remute yourself, that would be great. Joan?
Since I moved to Sarasota, I've continued to be a retirement options coach, which I got certified before I left the company I was with for 14 years, but then I had to get certified again. I've been a career outplacement coach for 30 plus years. But in the last 3 years, I got very interested in helping people get ready for retirement. And most of them, 90%, want to do some kind of work or income producing. So I can help them figure out some options for that.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, please mute yourself if you don't mind. Stephanie?
Hello, I'm Stephanie Markuski. I'm an ADHD life coach and a tiny habits coach. And I feel like I'm rebuilding everything, but this time I'm building it much stronger. And so I'm definitely looking for ways to authentically connect with clients and get my message out.
Great. Thank you. And now we have Deb Mazzaferro.
Hi, I'm Deb Mazzaferro. I do coaching and consulting for the specialty food trade. Coming up on my 21st year. Wow. May 1st is my anniversary. I'm a Gestalt trained coach, and I've been with the Greater Sarasota Coaches Alliance, I think it's 14 years now.
I thought it was more like 50.
Yeah, well,
Feels like
like
that for both of us. Yeah.
So welcome,
I've
everybody.
been with it 45, you've been with it 50, so. Thanks, Deb. Lisa?
I'm Lisa Galucci. I just moved to Northport at
Oh.
the beginning of the month, so I'm brand new to the
Welcome.
Florida area. I've been in HR for 20 plus years, coaching managers. And so I've transitioned into career transition and business coaching. So I'm in a new business starting up, but I've been doing it for a long time. So it's kind of the transition for myself to figuring out how to get clients. So that would be a question that I would have for some of you. How did you get your clients, and that kind of thing. So, but I also am just wanting to absorb everything and get to know everybody too, make nice connections.
Great, thank you. And if you would, there you go. Phyllis?
Hi. So I'm a certified CTI coach and a RIM practitioner, which is emotional healing, and a PQ coach as well, positive intelligence. And I mostly work with people who are looking for new direction. And right now I have a group of 20-something ambitious women who are sort of like over ambitious and making themselves crazy. And I'm having a really wonderful time with them, both on helping them with their new career direction, but also getting them started negotiating and investing and doing all the stuff I wish I knew when I was in my 20s. So I think I'm going to be starting to build that out. It's a new area for me of being Aunt Phyllis for ambitious 20-somethings. And yeah, and I met Mitchell like for lunch like 25 years ago, and the conversation really stuck with me. So it was kind of like, he's a really stimulating guy. It was like I didn't end up doing exactly what he suggested, but I ended up using his ideas with my clients and in my own building my practice. So I think it's going to be a very interesting program.
Great, thank you. And if you would mute yourself, or here, I got it. Nina?
Hi everyone, it's great to see you guys. I hope your life is back to normal, hopefully, and we get to meet soon again in person.
We're going to talk about that a little bit at the end of the meeting.
Okay, perfect. So I'm actually, my title has changed recently. I'm now a professor of instruction. So for USF, I've worked for USF for 22 years now, and I was always called an instructor, but now I'm a professor of instruction. So I'm really happy about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And gaining credibility with my students is obviously something I'm very interested in. So I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Great, thank you. And if you would mute yourself, Judith?
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. I'm retired, but I have been a leadership trainer and executive coach for many years, and I have done executive coaching in a volunteer capacity more recently. And I do a lot of writing, and credibility is something that I think is also something that comes across in writing, and the whole topic interests me. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Great, thank you. And if you would mute yourself, and then Jackie?
Hi, I'm Jackie Simmons, and yeah, I've been in this organization for a little while, starting to count it in multiples of, tens. Not quite as long as Deb.
Deb is the queen of GSCA.
There we go. Yeah. The journey with GSCA and the journey with my own company have paralleled. And I love coming in when Mitchell is talking, especially since now I'm coming in with my own work fully fleshed out in a certification program that is the cure for imposter syndrome. And we're erasing emotional trauma from the events of people's past in the first session and every session. And I'm teaching coaches how to do that. And what we know is that when you are that certain that you can get results for your clients, getting clients is easier because you don't have imposter syndrome yourself. So that's what's happening in my world. And I am very happy. It is called Conscious Transformational Coaching and Emotional Trauma Resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jackie. If you would mute yourself, and we have Vanessa.
Yes, hi. My connection is very unstable right now, so I don't know if
Okay.
you can hear me.
We do.
But I'm starting out as a self-empowerment and branding coach for artists specifically. And yeah, I'm located here in Sarasota, and I just came across this event. I have no idea what the Sarasota Alliance of, anyway, this new organization is not familiar with, so I'm very curious to learn more about your whole thing and to meet you guys.
Wonderful, thank you. If you wouldn't mind muting yourself, and we have Christine Hannafin. Are you there? Well, we'll come back to Christine. She's online, but she's not there. Okay, let me see if I can mute her. There we go. Okay, and I'm Leslie Austin. I'm an executive coach, and I deal with helping senior executives and high achieving people deal with difficult people and difficult relationships, primarily the narcissists in their lives that drive them crazy, or sometimes with the narcissist themselves. Not just narcissists, but it's been primarily, and also the other group are very high achievers who want to achieve even more and grow personally and sometimes spiritually. So that's me. Mitchell, I've already read your introduction. I'm going to turn it over to you and let it rip.
Thank you. I so appreciate this. And, you know, you did a great job on the intro. And what I thought I would do is, as I do have a speaker intro video, and I think I'm going to play that first. It's about 90 seconds. And then that'll set a stage for who I am and what I do. And what I'd like to say is I'm pretty good on time in terms of understanding what we need to cover. And so if I'm saying something and you want me to stop if you have a question, since I'll probably be sharing the slide deck, I may not see the questions in the chat. So Leslie, if you want to just stop me, I'm happy to break in the middle. And if it turns out that there's not enough time, I'll let you know. Otherwise, feel free to share.
Sure, no problem.
That would be great. So let's make this interactive so we can make it valuable for you.
We can use the raise the hand thing too.
That sounds great. Perfect. Okay, so let's just share this. I'd like you to think about the world today and ask yourself, are you happy with it? I know I'm not. It is my purpose. It is my life mission to tip the scale between those in the world that are credible and those that are dubious. This is something that we have to do together, and I invite you to join me. Thank you for that. You know, the the thing that's interesting, and I'm going to share my slide deck. The thing that was interesting is my life changed when I interviewed 500 thought leaders. I thought I had my purpose. I thought I knew what I was going to be doing, and I did. My purpose was to have fun, be happily married. We successfully launched a child. He's now 23. And what came out of the interviews was so many things that were surprising, so many things that were shocking, as I now have a new focus, a new purpose. And I'll share what that is, but let me just share with you what ended up happening. And what's interesting is it's all so relevant to who we are and what we do. And so this is the shocking things, and we'll cover a number of them in the talk. And for many of you listening to you, it'll be so obvious. So 2% of people had no integrity. 4%, and we'll come back to that because that's an important element. That's one of the things that's easy to fix. 4% were rude. And when I say by rude, I had a live show. 4% of the 500 people I interviewed came after the hour for a live show. Got that? So imagine, you got a new professor job, and your students come into class and the bell rings and you don't show up to a couple minutes after class because you're the professor and you're important enough that they could wait for you. That is the opposite way of building credibility. Okay. So, now, overall, 23% of people were late. Now, I'll go into one of the reasons for that is that we've been taught wrong of who we are and how we live in life. 80% of the people, once I got to see them and really uncover who they are, when I went back to see how they showed up online, how they showed up in their social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and how they showed up on their website, really, even if it was beautiful looking, was not consistent with who they were. And probably the most relevant, and this is true in every meeting I go to, every place I go, even the introductions when people introduce themselves, 98% of people needed clarity. And we'll be clear, they needed clarity on who they served and the pain point they addressed, so it was easy for their prospects to find them and to identify with who they are. So what came out of the interviews, and we're going to come back to this, and obviously this is recorded, but feel free to take a snapshot of any of the pages that you find useful as well. What came out of the interview was this framework. And the thing that's interesting to me, and I'm not convinced this is big enough. So let's see what happens if I do this. Nope, I don't want to do that. Wrong button to share. Let's see. We'll just make this bigger. Okay, there we go. So what was interesting to me is the phrase that we use all the time. And so for those that, for those that may not know it, Jackie and I shared the same stage for TEDx. Her TEDx is amazing. It's on suicide prevention. And Jackie, that was, it still blows me away listening to your TEDx. The one that I did at the same time, I was recently told it was the 28th most popular in 2021. So it's called We Are Losing Our Humanity. And I'm tired of watching it happen. And when I came out with a TEDx and when I came out with a book, I used the phrase know, like, and trust, because we all know that phrase. And I thought, hey, let's use that phrase because we all know it. And what I was doing is what we all do. And that is I was following some cookie cutter approach that this is what everyone does. So let's follow that cookie cutter approach because let's just be like everyone else because they'll accept it. About a year after, this is about probably now about 3-4 months ago, about a year after coming out with the framework, I realized that the most important element of the quality of credibility is trust. But also what comes after that is being known and being liked. So let me just show you exactly. So let's say that you're for the first time on this call We got a couple of people on that. Or you've been on this call and you go, oh, wait, I'm really interested. I need to know more about, and you fill in the blank of who you need to know more about. Literally, when you go to that person's webpage, that person, you have 3 seconds, 5 seconds. If somebody comes to your webpage, you have 3 to 5 seconds to build enough trust that they want to then spend the time to get to know you a little bit more. As they're getting to know you, you're going to build upon the trust and they'll decide if they like you. And it is truly important that people trust, know, and like us. Now, the goal of this presentation is not to go through the details of the roadmap, the 10 things you could focus on. But I will sort of read them out loud just so they hit. Under being trustworthy, we know the phrase being authentic. It's important to have external integrity, and I'll come back to the integrity thing in a minute. We want to be vulnerable, and we also need to be coachable. And here's the cool thing, by the way, as I'm listening to each and everyone speak today, you are by definition coachable because you're asking for it, you're looking for it, you want something, you want a framework, whatever it is that you're looking for. The point is, when you get to the point in whatever profession that you even for a second think you're not coachable, it's time to figure out to do something else. Because if you're not coachable, you're not credible. I'll give you another C word. If you're not curious, you're not credible. And so what was interesting to me is I came out with the 10 skill sets. I'll talk about being known in a second. And one of the things, so one was I'm not going to say mistake, but one, I went know, like, trust, and it really is trust, know, like. And what the other thing that happened is the interview called for the word integrity to be listed twice. So we have integrity under the column of being trustworthy. We also have integrity under the column of being known. It's this one right here. It wasn't 2 hours talking with Cheryl, who focuses on joy, when she was talking about the fact that joy is something internal and happiness is how we express it externally. And I woke up in the morning and I go, I got it. I know why integrity is twice. So under the pillar of being trustworthy, it's what we show externally. It's our external integrity. Under being known, it's who we really are. And it's one of those things. Do you pick up a $20 bill that somebody else dropped when no one else is looking, and do you return it or do you keep it? Do you cheat on your diet? Do you cheat on your taxes? Do you cheat on your spouse? Like, it's that internal thing. And for any leader, I mean, I'm sure we've all heard of stories of a leader who is just crystal clean. Everyone loved following him or her, but they cheated on their spouse and lost that perception of integrity. So under being known, in addition to internal integrity, it's servant leadership. Probably the most important of the two that I think about is being coachable and being a servant leader. And then these, you could almost combine these together, but there's a reason they're separate. And that is both showing the intent and demonstrating the commitment to do the right thing. And obviously we have to define what right means. And that one I did not define here, because right is going to be different for many different people. And here's the coolest part. If you want to actually be likable, there are two things you could do. Share your stage. I call it cred dust, spreading the ideas, thoughts, and actions to somebody else, and showing respect. And so we're gonna talk about all that. And so this is just the framework of being credible, whether it's to the students you're teaching who are already putting you in that position, but you want to then build a peer level credibility with them. We'll drive into that a little bit more. Or whether it's picking up clients for the first time and they see you, or picking up clients for the third, fourth, fifth time because they know you, they love you, they trust you. So here are three things that absolutely hurt your credibility, and sort of cover them all. The lack of integrity, lack of clarity, poor asynchronous focus. So let's talk about each of those. A lack of integrity, I'm going to say there are three things you can do. And this is one of the pillars. It's basically showing up, showing respect. Show up when you show up. come early, come prepared, come with your heart. So, the come early part. Now notice this is a framework that I created for the interviews. It's not necessarily relevant for every meeting, but what I will tell you before the interviews, I was one of those people who would come to a meeting maybe on time. On time might have meant like 1 to 2 or 3 minutes late because, I had all this stuff going on. And what I hadn't really realized is how disrespectful I was being to the person I was meeting with. Right. And so I came up with this framework, which is, hey, listen, you want to come early. Now, this is for a live show. And for those of us who run live shows, and Jackie, this, it's what's really nice is you actually want people to come early. If somebody comes 10 minutes before, I know I don't have to panic. Right. If they come between 9 minutes and 4 minutes, I'm still feeling a little comfortable, but somewhere around 4 to 5 minutes, I'm starting to be concerned. Are they going to show up or not? Now, the truth is, I could do a song and dance for a half hour anytime. Right. And so I'm not really, when I say panic, I don't really panic. But I would call, if you're going to a live show, if you're coming within 3 minutes to the time of the show, you're late. Right. You've missed the opportunity. Like a lot of times good hosts, people who are gestalt in their processes with their formats, with their questions, people who do that, they want to see, hey, what's new in your life today? What's important? What do you want to cover today? What's the end result of the show? Even if they knew what it was. And as I mentioned to you, this is so amazing. So just multiply 4% times 500. That's how many people thought they were being credible by going to an interview with a global credibility expert to talk about their credibility. And thought it was credible to come after the hour. That's kind of like a duh, right? Really? Does that really happen? And the answer is yes. So I would say come early, come prepared. The opportunity today to know a little bit more about the person you're engaging with, you don't need a lot of time, 5 or 10 minutes before a meeting, just to Google them, see what's new in their lives. Now, the thing is, coming prepared doesn't mean you're know-it-all and you tell them what's new in their lives. Coming prepared means that if that level of conversation happens, you could say, yeah, I saw that video, or I saw that news, or I see your company's doing something interesting. And, it's so easy to do, and it is so powerful. And you could say it goes back to showing respect. You've had enough opportunity to have respect in the world of the person that you're living with. And in that meeting, you're present to them is to be fully present to them. Right? You got that? You're present to them is to be fully present to them because you are there to serve them. You are that servant leader there to serve. And this is kind of shocking. Oh, by the way, so I'd say, I think it was something like 24% of the people did not come prepared to their first meeting. I sent out a 16-minute video on how to prepare. And I had so many people go, oh, I've been on so many podcasts, Mitchell, I don't need to prepare ahead of time. And the answer is I did something so different. I asked 5 questions to be answered in 5 minutes. If you don't prepare ahead of time, there's no way you could do that. It's just not possible, right? We're not trained to speak that way. Now, Jackie might be, but hey, that's another thing. All right. So now here's the interesting part. Now it could be because people were nervous, but I would say only 50% of the people showed up with their heart. 50%, right? Half the people showed up not really showing them me. Well, if I can't see you, how am I going to get to trust you, know you, like you? If I can't see you, how could those prospects who are interested in you get to trust you, know you, like you? How can you be credible if you can't show up? So I would say the very cool part about having integrity is if you find something you love doing, The person on the other side of the table needs to know that that's what you love. I love this, to bring out the best of a fellow human. Phyllis, I'm so curious to know what you remembered from 25 years ago, right? I'm so excited to see what you deployed. And I'm so happy to say I didn't follow all of it, right? That's great, because we're all our own people. We could be shown frameworks, tools, processes, procedures. We need to incorporate it into ourselves so that we, love ourselves first, so we can then put that love on other people. We doing okay so far? All right. There was one chat message.
Yeah, I just put in the chat that because I have you on speaker view.
Okay.
So we see you and your slides. If anybody has a question or comment, please just put it in the chat so I can see it. I won't see you raising your hand when we're in speaker view. We really want to feature Mitchell.
All right. So
far, really good. Thank you.
are you welcome? So you could sort of say, yes, Mitchell, duh, I got you. Right. To me, this is a duh. What I'll tell you though is it's not a duh to most people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just simply, we were not taught to come early. We were taught to have all these meetings going on. And if we came late, it's just, oh, I had another meeting. Sorry about that. Like, don't schedule meetings that way. I have to tell you, when I'm on somebody's podcast, just to be clear, what I have figured out is I book a half hour ahead of time, just so I could put myself in the mental mindset. And I book a half hour afterwards, just in case technology happens and things run late. So I typically block out, if I'm on your podcast, you've gotten 2 hours of my time. Now, here's the cool part. If it happens efficiently and it quickly, I have extra time to do stuff that trust me, finding extra time is always a really beautiful present. Right. But I'd say we don't do this. I don't know why. I met a guy, I've been engaging with him recently. And what he mentioned to me, as we finally broke down and had a real conversation, this was about, eight different calls, somewhere between 7 to 8 calls. His response to me is, Mitchell, I've been in business for over 10 years, and I've never had a conversation with anybody in the world in the level that we've had our conversation right now. And I'm thinking to myself, God, how cool would it be if every conversation we had was from a heart to heart level, that the goal was to really serve others. And as coaches, that has to be your goal. If you're not there to serve, if you're not there to bring delight, to bring joy, then it's time to find something else to do. All right, let's do the next one. This actually turns out to be a superpower I didn't know I had. And that is having clarity, having the ability to articulate what you do and who you serve in such a short period of time that the person on the other side of the table can hear you, that the other side of the table can not only hear you, but they figure out who they want to share you with. And then a week later, they still remember who you are. It's just spectacular. So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to give you a formula. It's a formula and an approach in which you can articulate your purpose. Because if you're going to be working, work should be fun. And work equals fun, then you could play all the time. If you're playing all the time, the best way you can articulate that play is if you're playing, articulating, focusing on your purpose, what you happen to be good at, and you like sharing with others. We good so far? That's good. All right, awesome. So here's the formula. And it is very simple. I call it a CPOP. So, and Jackie and I, by the way, have all these great commentaries and conversations about words, and when do we use words, and when do we actually have to introduce words to the language or the vocabulary, or when not to, right? And I still love this word CPOP, and actually I love the verb of the word CPOP better, CPOPing, right? So CPOP is a way in which you can articulate your purpose. It is who you serve and the primary issue, concern, pleasure point that you address. And I'm going to share a compilation video of a bunch of people who do CPOPs. The really interesting part of that CPOP is it really is short, it's shareable, it's memorable. What's really nice about the word CPOPing, it is allowing you to align yourself on and offline with your CPOP. All this stuff sounds really simple. Even seeing it sounds really simple, and the majority of the world does not do it. All right, so let me just play this video. This is, I think, yeah, this is a minute long. And this is an example of a bunch of people who have done CPOPs. What is your CPOP? What is your customer point of pain?
Profitability.
Business leaders who find themselves in a crisis.
Global supply chain panic.
Organizations struggling to find people to fit tomorrow's strategies.
Disloyal customers and disengaged employees.
Retailers who are failing to connect with the consumer.
Small business owners want their lives back.
Business owners who are frustrated and tired of blending in and want to stand out.
Business owners who are absolutely badass at what they do, but not enough people know that they exist.
So what's interesting to me is we're taught to give our value proposition. We're taught to try to say all this shit that we do. I am this person and that person, this person, I do this and that and this other thing, and I can help you here and I can help you there. And by the time we're done, and particularly when there's a group of people who are all saying similar stuff, like, how do you stand out? Well, let's be clear. Let's be as specific as we can. And so, you know, what I want to do is I want to share mine. And I actually have, it is okay to have more than one CPOP, and I'm coming up with this framework. It's actually a triangle where people have three. But I wanted to share at least two with you so you can hear what that is. And so my business CPOP, how I generate money today, professionals wanting book credibility. Right? It doesn't say a lot of what I need to do, but here's what it does do. If you're listening to this, you are one of three people. Okay. You are either, oh my goodness, Mitchell, that's a playground that I might be interested in playing in. And then what's the natural statement after that? Tell me more. Or, you know what? I'm a servant leader. I know somebody who needs to do something in that space. Tell me more. Or the third playground is, you know, that's interesting. I'm not interested at the moment. It doesn't mean I'm not interested in you. Right? What you want to do, if you could say something in 1 to 3 seconds, is to have somebody say, tell me more. Now, the one that I do for Credibility Nation, if my goal in life, if my purpose in life is to allow more people in the world to be credible, one of the best ways I found to do that is tops down through businesses. And so I have 3 words for that CPOP. Businesses feeling invisible. Right? So let me share with you for a second what that means. And this is let's imagine I say that in front of you. Typically I'd go, hey, the types of clients typically attracted to me, businesses feeling invisible. You know, so if you're in categories 1 or 2, either that's something that's of interest to you or that is something you want to recommend to others, you're going to say, oh, Mitchell, tell me more. And I'll say, great. Now you could give your value proposition, but you could be very focused around your purpose. And I'm going to give you the more just so you could hear it. And I'd love it if somebody wanted to actually publicly help go on, be able to actually talk about their CPOP, I'd be happy to do a quick exercise with somebody. So on the tell me more, businesses feeling invisible, what I typically say, there might be two reasons why businesses feel invisible. One, they're playing in the wrong playground. Some marketer gave them a cookie cutter approach to play on TikTok when all of their prospects are on Facebook or LinkedIn. Now, the second goes back to the interviews. I'm now over 600. 98% of people could not articulate who they served and the pain point they addressed. 98% of people could not articulate their purpose. And so even those thought leaders that are well known, they too are invisible. So the types of product service I have are, and then I'd go into what I do. And typically we do both group sessions, individuals, to help people both get clarity of who they are and how they serve, and at the same time, be able to align it on and offline. What I just did, I want you to do for you. I want you to be able to articulate your purpose. I want you to be able to articulate your CPOP in such a way where it's shareable and memorable. All right, we're about 45 minutes into it. Do I wrap up at the top of the hour? When is my expect?
We're somewhat flexible. We can, if you'd like it to be interactive, if you'd like to ask for a volunteer now, that's fine. Or you
I would love that. Okay, I've got about 15, 20 minutes more of stuff.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure that I had time for that, because I'm happy to squeeze in a.
Okay, that's fine. I just have a very quick question for you. Could you just remind us what CPOP stands for?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
It originally started off with as customer point of pain, but I'm going to add to it. It could be customer point of pleasure. It could be customer point of purpose. So, by the way, if you didn't hear this, for those of you that are career coaches, when you're working with your clients as a servant leader, you want them to find their customer, their point of pleasure. So as a career coach, your customer point of pleasure is unlocking the potential of those I work with, or something like that, right? That might be a pleasure point. All right, do we want somebody to sort of raise their hand? And
any volunteers work on your CPOP?
I'm not offended if nobody wants to stand up.
Well, I will wait 5 seconds. Aha! Lisa did it. Yes.
Oh, Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, Jackie, I knew you couldn't say no. Hi, Lisa.
Just remember to unmute, Lisa.
How you doing?
All right, so you just moved.
Yep.
Career transition and biz coaching. You got a new business.
Mm-hmm.
And your question is, how do you get new clients?
Yes.
Got it. Tell me who is the target audience? Who is it that you're actually going to serve?
Mostly women either looking to change careers, or women that are in a specific position that want to level up to the next level and that are fearful or whatever. I've talked to a lot of people, and I've been doing this for so long, but I never thought about being a coach until I recently moved cross country and was listening to Audible books on the road trip. I've been traveling for the last 9-10 months. So I just settled here in Florida. So I started thought I was going to go to Austin. Then I ended up in California, and now I'm here. So I've been on quite a journey myself. And so I'm excited about this part of the job career for me, but I want to make it successful.
Perfect. So what do you think their pain point is in that the group? By the way, the group you mentioned, even though I heard it's mostly working women, right? But that by itself doesn't necessarily have a good connotation. So why don't we say executive women?
It could be, but sometimes it's women that are either going back to work after taking care of their kids, or they are working in a job they hate and they want to do something like open a business, things like that.
Okay.
If I were to give you their CPOP, most of it is fear that they can't do it, that they aren't good enough.
And what do they want?
I don't know that they've ever asked for what they wanted, but I've drilled down in some cases to where they want to hear that they are capable of doing whatever they want and that they can do it, and then showing them the obstacles that are in their way and what can they do about the obstacles, what kind of things can they put into place to give them the time to do what they need to do.
Tell me a little bit more about that, if you don't mind. I think I got it, but it was a little high level.
So, for example, I had a friend of mine who wanted to open up a business, but she kept, she still does, but not as bad. She kept putting herself last on the list to take care of her adult children who were messing up in the world. And instead of letting them fail and learn their own lessons and, fail forward, basically, she kept picking up the pieces for them instead of taking care of her own life. And it ultimately tumbled out of control. She lost her place to live because of her daughter, who unfortunately was on drugs, and she was trying to take care of her. So she lost her place to live, and now she's trying to find a place to live. She had to quit her job again. She wants to start her own business. She keeps putting herself last, and she's not, you know what I mean? She's just not figuring it out. And at a certain point, I have to set boundaries to say, I've given you all the tools. What else can we do? But she has to do the work. So, that's just kind of one example of someone that's kind of on the extreme, but I've had similar conversations with other people as well.
How about one more example? That gave me a couple directions, if you don't mind. What I'm trying to do as I'm listening, by the way, and this is for you guys as coaches, is you're trying to listen for the passion points. You're trying to listen for where the tonation goes up, what words are used more frequently than others, right? And so, Lisa, that's what I was listening to, and I'm closer. I may be there, but give me another example, if you don't mind, of potentially like that perfect client for you, whatever that might be.
I don't know what that would be. Okay. Another example would be a woman who wants to, she's been in my similar role in human resources when I was in human resources. And she was a human resources director for years. Unfortunately, she had a lot of really bad bosses that asked her to do things that you just don't ask an HR person to do, because they have integrity and you have to follow rules and laws. And so she lost those jobs. So her resume is not job hopping looking, but it does have shorter stints in, some places, because she left on her own because she didn't like the integrity of the people she was working with, or she was separated with a severance, saying, oh, it's just not a good fit, even though she had been there for, 19 months or something. And so she wants to level up to a VP of HR, but she knows she can do it. She has all the experience. She's done a lot of things in her life, but she just can't figure out how to get to that next level. And she feels like she's getting passed over for either men in the roles or people that are younger than her, and so she's kind of caught as to where she wants to go. I mean, she knows where she wants to go. She just doesn't know how to get there.
Interesting. So I have two that I'll put in the chat, and then we'll say them out loud. And what I'll suggest is that figure out if there's one that you particularly like, and then start sharing it with other people. And how you would share it is in a group like this, the way you would say it, or if you're talking with somebody directly, the way to say it is, the types of clients typically attracted to me, because it's hard for me. Mine start with businesses feeling invisible. I can't just stand up in front of them. Hey, businesses feeling invisible. Huh? What? The types of clients typically attracted to me, and then I do a second pause. Businesses feeling invisible. Now, it could be a executive, it could be a individual, right? But it could also be a $100 million company that they're known in one vertical, but not in another, right? So it's that one's fairly broad based. With you, there are two things. There's two that came to mind, and there's a particular reason I like to say executive women, because you can't use working women, probably because of 9 to 5, but it just doesn't work anymore, right? So executive women who don't want to put themselves last, right? That's sort of the CPOP, the customer point of pain. And also executive women tired of playing by somebody else's rules. That's also a point of pain. Versus you can easily take a pleasure point. Executive women wanting to do something for themselves. Right? And so what I'd like you to be thinking about, and this is one of those that I think I'd need to know a little bit more about you, spend a little bit more time. But do either of those two that I mentioned, do either of those feel like they're closer to you? How do they feel?
I think it's the second one that is that's speaking to me the most. Playing by someone else's rules.
So here's what I would recommend then. Go out to 10 of your friends, make the statement, and just say, hey, listen, I'd like to say something to you, and I want you to tell me what you think it means. Start off, the types of clients typically attracted to me. Executive women tired of playing by somebody else's rules. Now, here's the most important part. This is when the gestalt has to come in. You just say, you drop the mic and you say, what does that mean to you? Now, Lisa, you asked the question, I'm going to answer for you as well. After you hear what they say and you write it all down, you say the following. Is there somebody in your network who you think might be interested in somebody like this? Is there somebody in your network that might be a potential client for this? Now, I'll give you another hint. This is the easiest hint. If you don't have video testimonials today of you doing what you're doing, what you could say to the person on the other end is there somebody in your network who might be interested? Because I'd like to offer this service for free to one person, but the cost will be when we're successful at video testimonial. And by the way, on the second person, you say, hey, listen, I don't know what I should charge for this, but I would like it if you pay me what you think it's worth, and the cost will absolutely be a video testimonial. Now, with 2 video testimonials and somebody having you paid what they think it's worth, well, the third person, you're gonna approach in a completely different way. And that's the truth is that's my best recommendation. Given the role that you had and what you did, going to 10 people and asking for help on your CPOP, and then following through after they gave you good, by the way, the 10 people responding with simply, what does that statement mean to them? You're going to get so many nouns, verbs, adjectives, words to work with that capture opinions, stories. Most everyone will have at least one story to tell you. Now you can have stories you could tell that's associated with what people are looking for. Really powerful. Was that helpful?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mitchell, just for fun, I'm listening to what you're doing. It's really interesting and very helpful. My mind was going in another direction, and I wanted to just throw it in and see what you think about it. The first thing that Lisa said was her clients lack confidence. So I kind of stuck with that, and I kept coming up with things like women who lack the confidence to really thrive in their business. Something really bottom line, broad-based, simple. Now, does that work as a CPOP, or is that too vague?
Well, let's summarize that. And I'm going to make it 4 words. Women lacking business confidence. Right? I mean, I like those 4 words better.
There you go.
Leslie.
Yeah. Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say, can I answer for Lisa, and then we'll let Lisa answer for Lisa?
Absolutely. Sure. I like what you did.
I heard that, and I think based on the interviews, that's part of the marketing cookie cutter approaches that everyone's been teaching and training. And that's why it was the first words out of Lisa's mouth. And when I was diving deeper, that's not where her passion lied. Right. And I could be wrong, but I didn't see her as, I mean, confidence is an outcome of what she delivers, but not the primary thing that she's focused on. That's what I felt. I don't know, Lisa, did I misinterpret that?
No, absolutely. And I think every time you say, tell me more, or tell me more, it was really diving down deeper to where they were, what we summarized here of women tired of playing by someone else's rules. And so to me, that feels just like exhaustion. I'm too tired to deal with it. And so my confidence level lowers and I just don't want to have to worry about it, but I still want it. And so that's kind of what I have discovered talking to people. Now, I don't have a lot of clients, so I don't have a lot of examples. Those are only 2 examples that I have. But, you know, I've done coaching in my HR capacity, but you're doing it specifically, you know, in a company. So, but you hear those things, especially from women managers. So, you know, it's the same thing. They want to get to that next place, but they see how some places run and they're not happy with the way they're being run. So it's the playing by someone else's rules. It really did end up being that sentence in many, many cases. So yeah.
Well,
that's really helpful. So you can see that going deeper, as Mitchell's doing with you with the process, really takes you to a much more core place about what your client's point of pain or pleasure is. So thank you, both of you.
No, Leslie, that was really cool. Very important for you to ask that question and to, because, you know, we're all experts at different areas. We all interpret things in different ways. And it could have been as equally as powerful for Lisa to say, oh my God, Leslie, you're right. Which, by the way, still would have been a perfect outcome. Right. And so don't hold back at asking those questions. Right. You really, because what's happening, by the way, Lisa, you have hundreds, if not thousands of other examples in your role of HR. The only problem is you were playing by somebody else's rules and giving those answers. Right. Which could actually be one of the problems. Like normally what happens is our superpower stems from the fact that we were constrained our entire life a certain way and we want to get to another side. And so that could be, by the way, core to you. Right. So it's today Monday. Today is Monday. Here's what I'd like to suggest. If there's somebody who's listening to this, who has somebody in their network that Lisa could potentially support. Now she has to say she'll support for free, but she can try what she does for free for video testimonials. Please reach out to her privately in chat or publicly if you want. And Lisa, but before the end of the week, I want you to have 2 more clients. Okay, cool. All right. Let's go back to the presentation. And, I think what happens here, this should be normal, right? This should be this level of conversation, what we're doing now. This should be what you expect all the time, right? The intent of somebody, and my intent, if you feel anything other, is just to help support each and every one of you. Right. And Phyllis, even though I didn't know exactly who I was, I mean, I knew who I was, but it was a different purpose than I have now. I still had fundamentally, my intent was to serve. It's just now I'm so fine-tuned on doing that. Right. It's just a different, it's a different vehicle. I got a little bit more of content. And so I'm just going to remind you that try to throw out your elevator pitch, at least as the first thing you say. Try to come up with a CPOP, something less than 10 words that's memorable, shareable. And for people that are in either of the 2 categories, they either want to know more about the playground you play with for themselves or to recommend to somebody else. All right. So, oh, this is cute. I had my person create this, and I hadn't listened to this testimonial. So let's listen to it. This is Tom Schmidt. I think this probably says most people in my world, when you mention the word insurance, they just shut you out. You never get very far. You're just considered as a typical sales guy, and they don't want to talk to you. They may need your services, but they don't want to talk to you. The CPOP is a good way for me to be able to use it at a networking event and be able to gain clarity, not only for what I've done for the last 30 years, but what I hope to do in the future. Let me see if Tom I didn't listen to this ahead of time. Let me see if that's what Tom says exactly.
Mitchell, I'd just like to thank you for introducing me to the CPOP. For a long time, I've tried to figure out how to clarify exactly what I do every day, and trying to condense that down into just a few words like what we did was really very helpful for me to bring clarity to others that I can see, tell them what exactly I do to get them to beg the question to talk more. Because most people in my world, when you mention the word insurance, they just shut out, and you never get very far because you're just considered the typical sales guy, and they don't want to talk to you. They may need your services, but they don't want to talk to you. And this is a good way for me to be able to use at a networking event and to be able to gain clarity, not only with what I've done for the last 30 plus years, but what I hope to do in the future. So I thank you, Mitchell.
Okay. Can I tell you, I'm going to thank Nika for that. That was like a perfect testimonial. And Lisa, you want that. You want those. You want your audience to self-select into you because they go, wait, I want that. I need that for me. You need those. And me reading it was not as powerful as me listening to Tom. And Tom, he's an insurance guy. He's very, I love Tom. But sometimes his level of passion is not the same as other people. And so I felt his enthusiasm. I felt his passion. That's what you want with your testimonials. All right.
Mitchell,
So,
Deb Masfero is asking, but what was his CPOP?
oh, he didn't give it. So I'll have to, and can I, during the questions, if I have a minute, I often keep track of people's CPOP, and let me see if I remember it. It's been about 7 months. I'm not sure I remember it. exactly. It was 4 or 5 words. Great question, Deb. It should be here, by the way. So I'll put it here when I give the presentation again. It was something to the extent of businesses not expecting the catastrophic event. It was something like that. It could have been a little more clever, but yeah, it was very close to that. Businesses not expecting the catastrophic event, because
Okay,
that
thank you.
leads towards a very good tell me more.
Yeah, so we have Jackie and Lisa in the chat. Jackie is asking when and where would Lisa share her testimonials? And Lisa says, I have a quick follow-up question, please.
And how are we on time, just so I could make sure I manage appropriately?
You've got 22 minutes till we close. And I need about 3 minutes at the end. So I'd say about 17, 18 minutes.
Jackie, thank you for the lead question. This is the, okay, you got everyone excited. What's next? And Lisa, let's do the follow-up. Let me finish this particular segment, because I think it answers, I'm looking at what comes next. I think it answers all of those questions. Is that okay? Except Lisa, what is your question? So I could have it in back of mind.
Just to see if I can, because I really like the 2 CPOPs that we dialed down to, but I wanted to, I mean, not that I couldn't, I'm just asking for a general, advice. Putting them together and saying women lacking business confidence, tired of playing by someone else's rules. Like putting them together.
I can only say, I don't know if I think, I'm not sure it's any of those 3 yet. And I'll tell you my compass is the hair on my arm stands up when somebody actually says their CPOP and they're in alignment with them. And it hasn't yet. So I think we're close, but we're not quite there. I can only say generically, sometimes more, or many times more, is less. So the more you add to it to sort of get clarity, the less clarity you're actually delivering. And so, and Jackie, I'm going to answer your question. So first, let me jump to the next slide. And once again, I'm going to thank Nika, because the Tom one was a great one. So here's what's really cool about your CPOP. It's a compass. Lisa, what happens when you have it is then because it's really hard when you're starting a new business and you somebody comes to you and they want to pay you money, but it's not your purpose, but it's still money, so you decide to take it. The CPOP will give you a compass. It'll give you a good time when to say no. It'll give you a good opportunity of what to share where. It'll give you a good point of when in a conversation you need to talk, whether or not you're in a group session like this or elsewhere. Right? It really is. It just turns out to be a compass for everything. And what I want to do is I'll go to the last section, which is poor asynchronous communication. So this is a third mistake most people make. And Jackie, this is going to address your question of where do you put your endorsements. So what was really interesting is once I really dialed down with somebody who they were, and we were able to articulate it within a short period of time. Wait, I want to turn this off for a second so you can see my face when I say this. 90, let's assume with 617 times that human for the first time in their lives were able to actually be in alignment with themselves, to be able to have their purpose in 10 words or less. Whether or not I was 100% or 99 or 95, but let's just assume that was mostly the case. That because my goal sometimes when we weren't able to do the interview, I'd say, you're not ready right now. Do you want to come back? Without any judgment, and then they come back. And so let's assume they were in alignment for the first time. 90%, it's not even the Pareto rule. It's not 80%. 90% of the people who were in alignment for the first time let it go somewhere between 2 hours and 2 weeks. 90%. Now, the best I could tell is what happens is they get so excited about who they are and what they do. They go out and start telling their friends. So Lisa, don't let somebody untell you, because this is what people do. They untell you. They go, wait, because you go, I got my purpose. I can now articulate it. Let me tell you what it is. And they look you in the eyes, and they look at you in the eyes without malice. And they go, you know, that's not really your purpose. Your purpose is, and they give you something else. 90% of people let's use your rules again. 90% of people let somebody else set the rules for them. 90%. So that's what I'm looking at right now, is how do we fix that? And so that's part of one of the services that I offer. And what I'm going to say to you is this is one of those things that we do, and I'll talk about it in a second, but it's to answer Jackie's question directly, where do you actually put your testimonials? You put them at places where people see you, right? So if you're Googling you put it at a place where people research you, or at the right social media component. The endorsements you have, it's good to have them in words, but you could hear and feel when somebody's actually giving you an endorsement and you've just done something amazing for them. Typically what happens for me, it's right after the interview. After I deliver some special value for them, I ask the question, hey, would you mind giving me a video testimonial? I'd say 99.5% of the people said yes. The 1 or 2 people who said, no, let me send it to you, was never as good what they sent me. Because by the time they sat down to send it, it might have looked prettier, but it lost the passion. It lost the feeling of who they were, right? So let's start with the top. I want each and every one of us not to live by somebody else's cookie cutter approaches, not to live by somebody else's rules, and just to be you. Right. And so this is, and I'll give you a little bit more an opportunity on that. What I want to say is, this is a really powerful thing that most of us don't do really well. And that is, do your prospects and clients perceive you as credible when you're not in the room? The answer is they should, but if you haven't aggressively and actively made that happen, if somebody can't go to any one of your social presence and they can't see your CPOP immediately, because remember what I said, you got 3 to 4 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds for them to actually see who you are. If they can't see it immediately and you can't reinforce it, you're not perceived as credible from their perspective if they don't know you. So let me put it a different way. Let's say I met one of you based on this conversation, or Lisa, let's say I meet the right person today who's a perfect fit for you. And I feel your energy and I think you're going to be great. And I run across somebody else in my meeting and I go, wow, she'd be good for you. Unless your asynchronous presence supported who you were, I wouldn't recommend you. Because I'd feel uncomfortable. I'd want somebody to look at you first before they actually talk to you. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what we do. I've got an event coming up starting March 7th. It is a free event. And essentially what we do is we help people walk up the stairs of credibility. Right? So it's called Being Seen as Credible. It is on East Coast time. It's 7 to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, the week of March 7th. We do this every quarter. Once again, I do all the stuff that people tell me I'm not supposed to do. We do this once a quarter. If you can't make it this time, come next time. If you think somebody else should come to this, please encourage them to come. It's a free event. And what typically happens, Jackie, when somebody's researching me, I want them to get to a video testimonial as quickly as possible. To answer your question, right? So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I've got probably 10 or 12 different video testimonials at different spots of my jobs, because I want people to feel me. Okay. When people go to your social media, do they see your CPOP? Are you making it happen? Are you doing? I'm really glad, Lisa, that you were here, because you showed to everyone else. How cool would it be the next time, within a couple weeks, you go to Lisa's site, whichever one it is, her site or her LinkedIn, or she even shares with this group. She goes, hey, here are the 2 endorsements that came from the session you guys were at. You were part of my journey. Here are 2 endorsements. What do you think? Like, how cool would that? Who wouldn't, if you're part of this group, who wouldn't, if you did that on LinkedIn or Facebook, who would want to comment? I was here when Mitchell said that she should do this. This is really cool stuff. Do you feel the power of us playing together? Right? It's pretty amazing. Right. What we do with the rest is the 4th day we talk about, well, how do you create videos where people actually could see you? I'll give you the hint. You start off with your CPOP, and then you give the tell me more, and then your video's done. It's kind of, you could do something in minutes, right? Here's my purpose and what I do. Here's the playground I play in, but you don't say I do this or we do this. You just share your CPOP and you say, okay, this is what happens. And either people self-select or they share you with others. It's kind of simple, right? What happens when you do align yourself? You become a magnet. And I don't know if I want to say you become a magnet for your purpose. Let me fix this. This is for you, Jackie, because you're in the room. You become a magnet, you magnetize your purpose, which is just articulated through this thing called your CPOP. Right? It's just, it's so simple. When I say this stuff, it seems so simple to me, and I have to tell you, it really is this simple. Now, I'm going to end with this, and then I'll open up for questions. We do things that you can do together. Right? We've got the 5-day challenge. I do have a platform called Credibility Nation. It's $100 a year. You typically can get in for free for a month or 2 to check it out. I've turned the interviews into videos. So I do cred reels. I don't do cred reels until people are ready. It's basically a 5-minute video where it's 5 questions to answer in 5 minutes. And then the upsell from the 5-day challenge is that we do a mastermind. It's a 6-month mastermind. Other things that when you guys are ready or interested, I have somebody who does do and support on LinkedIn. If your clients are on LinkedIn and you want somebody to help do it for you, there's somebody I could recommend. There's somebody I'm talking to right now who does amazing press release writing and distribution. So if that is of interest to you, reach out and I'll recommend them. And this is my business. When I gave you the CPOP, which was professionals wanting book credibility, our solution is we will ghostwrite, publish, distribute, make you an Amazon best-selling author in 6 months, and you spend 10 hours. I mean, we press the easy button. But I'm not here to sell this. I'm just saying this is a done for you. Like when you get to that point, this is a done for you service that we have. My goal today was for you to see me. Right? My kryptonite actually is not being seen. So my goal is for you to see me and recognize that I just want to help you. If it ends up like, that's why this thing is free, please come. If you end up deciding to be a client, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I'd love it. I will support you. If you end up not being a client, that's fine. I will still love and support you the best way I can. You just don't get as much time, right? That's kind of what, as coaches, that's what we do, right? So yeah,
just so you know, I put the URL for being seen as credible 5-day challenge and the starting date in the chat for people, so they can just save the chat and have the link.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. I think that's good for now. Let's see. What do I have on the Q&A? No, just join us in Credibility Nation. Join the challenge. I think that's good. There was one other thing I thought I'd share. If you're curious, a little curious about me, I have I didn't capture yours, Jackie. If you wanted to put your TEDx in the chat, please do. This is mine, which is we're tired. We're losing our humanity, and I'm tired of watching it happen. So that's the TEDx that I did. And Jackie, yours is so cool. You should put yours in the chat too. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. And by the way, this is one of the things we should be doing. Just if you've heard me do this a couple of times, I call it spreading cred dust. Spreading cred dust is what happens when you share somebody else's ideas, thoughts, and actions. Right? You're basically spreading magic. Everybody wins. The audience is better off. The person you recommend is better off because you've heard of them. And I'm better off because I'm looked at as a servant leader. I want you to be happy. Yeah, I got one of those too. It's actually, I think it's Ahada Pub / Credibility TED Talk. So yeah. So did this open up any questions? Thank you, Celeste, for your comments.
Anyone, any questions or comments before we start to wrap up? That was terrific, Mitchell, by the way. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, great job. Lovely.
Lots of really meaty, good content. Very much appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else? Questions?
Oh, Celeste
comments?
has her hand raised.
Oh,
Yay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Celeste.
No, that was just a clap, an applause.
Oh,
A signal for applause.
Oh, it was a good applause. I liked it. I appreciate that.
Well, in that case, Mitchell, I'm going to really thank you so much for everything you did. You were totally credible and spoke with your heart. I think I can say that on behalf of everyone. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Again, I just want to let you all know we are in the process of getting another terrific speaker for March. It's not confirmed yet, so I can't give out the name, but she's pretty terrific. We are now finally in real conversations about moving back to our traditional in-person meetings. For those of you who are new and don't know, we historically have always met in a restaurant or a meeting room. We have lunch and we have a speaker in person. We've been doing it live on Zoom since the pandemic started. And we're probably going to revert back to live in-person meetings, in which case, if anyone wants to come as a guest, you will need to pay a small fee to attend. And we're going back to having our members pay wonderful dues because we will start to incur more costs again for live meetings. So if you're a member and you haven't paid your dues yet, please do. If you're not a member, please go to our website, look around. Please feel free to join. We'd love to have you. And if anybody has any questions or comments and wants to talk about anything, please feel free to contact me. My information is on the website, or Deb, or Jackie, or whoever. We're happy to talk to you. So we'll update you as to when and if we're going back to live meetings. Personally, I'm very excited about that because I love the interaction. And we've been very blessed to have continuous attendance and really good speakers almost for 2 years now, but we'd like to go back live. So with that, I'm just going to thank everyone for attending. Thanks again, Mitchell. It was wonderful.
Wait, we got a hanging question here. Hold on just a second.
What's the hanging question?
Phyllis, we all want to know, what did Mitchell say 25 years ago that you applied? I also want to know what you didn't.
Yeah, well, Mitchell asked me to write a book. And I think those of you who know me know how likely that is. I'd already written two and I just hated writing so much. So that's what didn't happen. But he's also, you can see he's got a really brilliant marketing mind. And my background before I was in careers was in marketing and public relations. I think I'm making this theoretical, but I think somehow I didn't quite mesh both things. so it was more like how we talked about the book, like starting with, who's the audience, what do they need to know? And also the other part was, how are you going to sell a lot of them? Like starting from how are we going to get it out to the public? And so that specific stuff, it turns out that I've had at least 10 clients who wrote books or, did some other, be featured in Southern Living or something like that. And I always, did that from then on. Like if you're going to give a keynote speech, the people who are hiring you, they're going to pay you, but they're also going to buy 300 copies of your book. So I've been carrying that along. And also, whenever somebody gets publicity, like we think about 5 other ways you can use it afterwards to multiply the impact.
Thanks very much, Deb. And
Thanks, Phyllis.
nice way to close. And thank you all for being here today. And please join us again the 3rd Monday in March at 1 o'clock for our next meeting.